quite frankly, this might have been exactly what I needed mentally to be able to push through harder things in the future, because all of these situations, doing hard things consistently and proving to yourself that you can make it through these things, continues to build up a resilience, a confidence, a persistence in yourself and belief in yourself that you can go and do these things. And so I just want to encourage you that go put your mind to it, because you freaking can. What up, world? And welcome back to another episode of the Seeds of Success podcast. It's your host, Colin Walters, and today we are diving into my lessons and takeaways from the Eugene Marathon. These lessons are going to be directly applicable to you as an individual. They are not race specific. They are not running specific. They are takeaways that I am going and implementing into my life moving forward, and lessons and takeaways that I think you can implement into your life moving forward. These may not be groundbreaking, but they are takeaways, reminders, reflections of everything that I think is super important to come away from this race. If you missed the Eugene Marathon race recap, go ahead and listen to the previous episode. I basically just gave an overview of exactly what happened during the race and how it did not go according to my plan. But moving on from that is getting into the takeaways from it. What does it mean? How can we learn? How can we grow? And how are we going to continue moving forward? So without further ado, the first lesson and the first takeaway that I want to dive into is that we're not going to be able to control everything. Things are going to happen that are unexpected. Things are going to come up. You're going to get sick. You're going to throw up. You're going to have the most unideal taper week you could imagine, lose over 10 pounds and go into race day feeling extremely tired and dead and lethargic. And the fact of the matter is that whatever happens in life, right, we're going to get hit with things that we weren't expecting, but it's how we respond. I forget who said the exact quote, but it goes along the lines of life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we choose to respond. Colin Henderson also has a great quote or analogy. It's E plus R equals O, meaning event plus response equals outcome, right? So event, something happens, response, how we respond, outcome, the summation of that event and our response is going to dictate what happens after that. And so it's here that we have the power. It's here that we have the ability to choose how we're going to respond, right? I mean, I in that moment, of course, maybe during my 5 months of training, I could have done more to try to prevent what was happening with my left hip, right? For those that don't know, I had insane hip pain that was so excruciating that happened around mile 17 and a half. And I had to basically walk, stop, sip on electrolytes, and repeat for the remaining 8.5 miles of that marathon. And it was brutal. It was terrible. I hated every second of it. But we got to the finish line. But the point being is that in that moment, I couldn't do anything about it, right? Besides develop a plan, which was, okay, how can I get to the finish line, right? And taking a step back, like, how can I get to this next aid station, you know? And so I wasn't able to do anything about what was happening to me in that moment, but I had to basically choose my response. And at first, emotionally, mentally, I wasn't handling it well. And then I got over that. I decided that I was going to continue moving forward the best way that I could in order to get to the next mile marker and the next one, and then ultimately to the finish line. And so things are going to come up in life. We're going to have people reach out to us, and we're not going to like what people have to say to us. Something unexpected is going to happen in your life, and it is a matter of choosing the response for how we're going to deal with it. And this is a lot of the power that comes with endurance sport, specifically, setbacks, challenges, pain, injury, suffering, etc. And it continues to teach me how to continue responding when things aren't going right, because they're not going to go right 100% of the time. And so that's the first thing that I wanted to touch on, is that things are not always going to go as planned, but it's how we choose to respond to those things and how we choose to respond to those events that is ultimately going to force us to grow in those moments. And so it takes me also to my second point in a key takeaway for me being, your goals are going to change based on the circumstances. So I went into this marathon having a couple goals. One, get to the starting line, check. Two, run a sub 255. That's what I've been training for. I was on pace for it. Miles 1 through 17 and a half. 640 is the pace I knew I needed to run. I was literally spot on at 640 at that moment in time. And then all hell broke loose. The hip, I couldn't take another step. Body stopped functioning. I stopped. Never stopped in a race, never stopped in a training run. I had my body, myself, I had no other option but to stop in that moment. That's what happened. My goal started to shift. I started thinking, okay, if this is not going to be the day, then, and this was after overcoming some mental barriers to get to this thought process. There were a lot of mental thoughts happening before I got to this point in time. But then I started thinking, okay, maybe I can still run a sub 3. And so then I tried and walk 3 steps, stop, stretch, let the pain subside, walk 5 steps, stop, let the pain subside. The sub 3 pacer goes running by me. Okay, sub 3 is not in it for today, I don't think. Let's see if we can do sub 330, right? So just like continuing to just adjust my expectations and adjust my goals based on where I was in that moment. The easy thing would have been to stop, DNF, quit, get carted back to the start finish line. That would have been the easy thing. There was no chance in hell I was going to do that. And so once I realized that 330 was going to be out of the question because I was moving so freaking slow, this was the longest 8 miles of my life, then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll try to beat 348, which was my first ever marathon time years ago. And then that was not going to work out. And I was like, you know what? Let's just get to the freaking finish line, because that's ultimately what I am going to walk away with in this, from this race, is feeling proud and accomplished for having gotten to that finish line when all is said and done. Because again, things happened out of my control. I was trying to handle what I could that was within my control. And so that was how my goals shifted for where I was in this process. Third takeaway is in line with the things not being within our control all the time, but what we can control is the neutral behaviors that we can take, right? And so taking subjectivity out of it, taking the emotion out of it, taking feelings out of it. What is the next best behavior that we can take to get to X goal, right? And that was what I focused on. I focused on, let me walk 5 steps. Let me stop, stretch, let the pain subside, and then I can take 5 more. Let me take in electrolytes on the next pause. Let me take in water. Let me see if I can try jogging. Okay, I just jogged 30 steps. I can't jog 1 more. Let me stop. Let me stretch. That was basically what I was doing. A bunch of super neutral behaviors of, this is the best that I can do in this very moment, right? And just trying to neutrally think about things. Much easier said than done, right? Especially when you have devoted, I can't even tell you how many hours to this thing, right? But I mean, about a decade, but like specific to this training plan, we're talking 4 months, 5 months of, 15 hours a week, right? Not even taking into consideration the mental and emotional preparation that goes into it. And so to be able to let those feelings go and focus on, okay, what can I do right now in this moment to help me get to the finish line, right? Which again, directly applicable to you. What are you trying to achieve? And what is the next best behavior that you can take to help you get there? And then going one step further, thinking about that end goal and working backwards from that. What are the neutral best behaviors that you can take working backwards to help get you there. When things don't go right, when something comes up unexpectedly, what is that next best thing that you can do in order to keep things moving in a positive direction, in a progressive direction? Fourth lesson is right in line with something that I was just alluding to, which is your very best. And I think that it's no coincidence that Shelby and I happened to pick up the book, The 4 Agreements, the other day, because the one thing that continues to stand out is that you can always do your best, but your best is going to change given different circumstances, right? Because even leading up to that race, my best during taper week is not even close to my best at peak performance week, right? My best at mile 18, not even close to what my best is when we're at mile 2, 3, 4, 5, 16, right? Your best is going to change day by day, hour by hour, circumstance by circumstance, but we can always give our very best effort in each moment, whatever that means for the moment. So don't beat yourself up if it's not your absolute very best, but you haven't slept in, a day and a half to 2 days, or you haven't, you've been sick and you're now recovering and trying to get back into things, or you've been, trying to manage your 4 kids all at the same time while doing your work from home job that is already stressful enough, or you got other things going on in your life that are just completely out of your control, or maybe they are in your control, but it just is super demanding. And so your best is going to change. And so I had to become okay with that during this process. And just knowing that, is it like results wise my very best? No, not by any means. Do I feel that I can do a lot better? Yeah, I was right on track to. And will I in the future? Absolutely. But for that moment, mile 18 best effort, far different than mile 16 best effort. So that was another takeaway. That was super important to come and realize and understand. Final takeaway is having a strong why and having purpose behind doing what you're doing. For me, this was rooted in my family, and this was knowing that we all go through hard things, and just keeping in mind what other people are going through for me was super important. And it just continued to allow me to push through those hard times, and knowing that people that are so close to me are going through struggles of their own. Like, I was able to lean into that and be able to push through for my own self in those moments. And I was super inspired by people that are in my life doing hard things themselves, and I had them top of mind. And so those are some of the takeaways that I had from the Eugene Marathon. I know that this recap is a little delayed from the race, and perfect world, I probably should have just recorded this immediately after it happened, but life was happening and I wasn't able to, but here we are getting it done. Thinking back, because I still, all said and done, I freaking love race day. I love race week. I love the process of it all. I love the training. I love the being able to create a powerful story for yourself, because I'm walking away from this thinking and knowing that, quite frankly, this might have been exactly what I needed mentally to be able to push through harder things in the future. Because all of these situations, doing hard things consistently and proving to yourself that you can make it through these things, continues to build up a resilience, a confidence, a persistence in yourself and belief in yourself that you can go and do these things. And so I just want to encourage you that go put your mind to it, because you freaking can. And so those are my takeaways. Those are my lessons that I'm walking away with from a life holistic overview standpoint. I will go ahead and dive into another episode that is very run and race specific, but I wanted this one to be for the everyday listener, because I appreciate you all, and I try my very best to tailor my content to everyone that is listening and reaches out, and I so appreciate it. And if y'all want to see some more of the journey, go check me out on YouTube at Coolin2322. You can check me out on Instagram at Coolin2322. Same thing with TikTok. And I posted a lot of videos. I posted a lot of content, thoughts, reflections, lessons, workouts, mental side of things. Oh, it's all on my social. I was trying to document my journey, document my story leading up to this thing. And thank you for everyone that's been following along. It's been super cool to continue having community that does this thing. All right. I said it was the last thing, but it's not, because I just remembered one final takeaway once I said the word community. And that is, we can go so much further together. I felt so lonely out on that course at mile 17 and a half. If it wasn't for the fans that were out there, for the runners that were supporting me, for our friends and family that were on the course with us every step of the way, sprinting around, my coach sprinting around, getting pictures of us, cheering us on, creating signs, like having signs, high-fiving us. Y'all know who you are. It was just incredible to have people out there that are so supportive. And I don't know, of course, on my own, yeah, would I have gotten it done? Yeah, no doubt. But faster, further, more enjoyably, like, people help so much. And it was people and persistence that got us to that finish line. And so community is such a great way to continue achieving your goals. Having people alongside you who are supportive and encouraging, and then vice versa, you being able to do that with others. So that was the very last thing. All right, I'm going to shut it off right here. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next episode.